Welcome to Bycatch. I'm Dave Bartlett in St. John's. Today on the show, I'll talk to an American photographer, and not just any photographer, but one who uses a stereo camera to produce 3D images. His name is Chuck Holzner, and he's my guest today on Bycatch. Chuck Holzner is from Virginia, but has a couple of connections to this province. He served with the U.S. Navy in Argentia in the 1960s, where he began his hobby in photography. He came back to camp, fish, and canoe over the last 2 decades or so. And then 2 years ago, he spent a month here taking stereo photographs all around the island. Now, a stereo photograph is taken with a camera that has 2 lenses. The prints are 2 side-by-side, almost identical images that, when viewed through a stereo viewer, show the depth of an image similar to the way a 3D movie works. This summer, Holzner returned to the island to try and recreate stereo photographs from the 1800s. I sat down with Holzner one evening a few weeks ago and started by asking him how he got interested in stereo photography.
I worked for a company at one time that would take pictures from an airplane in sequence as the plane flew over, take 2 of those pictures and put them on the machine. They could look at the 2 pictures simultaneously, and by adjusting the machine, they could figure the altitude of any point on those 2 pictures and make topographical maps from it. That was my introduction to the 3D. I was amazed at how neat it looked to see the depth, and of course that machine accented the depth. It made things look extremely tall that were tall. A ditch beside the road that was only a couple feet deep would look like it was 30 feet deep or so. And you could actually take an old cemetery and you could pick out and see which graves were filled because of the humps on them. And that was done with pictures taken at roughly 10,000 feet. Later, I happened to be commuting from Virginia to Connecticut on weekends. One weekend, I had to stay up there, and on Sunday, I went out to a flea market and found a stereo camera there and had never seen one before. So I bought it. It was cheap enough, and that got me started into stereo photography. I kind of got Newfoundland in my blood here. That one picture I took out of Kitty Vitty, which was a reproduction, I reproduced a view that had been taken, I don't know how many years ago, probably in the 1800s, late 1800s is my guess right now. Over the 2-year period, I'd been looking for more Newfoundland views, and I was able to locate actual views I could buy. I think I now have 5 of them. And I was also able to locate some on the web that I could copy on my computer, although they weren't of high quality. I thought I'd like to go back and copy as many of those as I could. It's kind of, it's a treasure hunt thing, you know. It's can I find this? The descriptions on those didn't really say where they were. And the one in Kitty Vitty said a fishing village near St. John's. Okay, Kitty Vitty is the nearest fishing village to St. John's, so I was lucky. But some of the other pictures I found was very interesting. I'd found 2 more that looked like they were from the Kitty Vitty area, and sure enough, they were within a stone's throw of the other one I had copied, and I was able to redo those.
And the other picture, how I heard about you is you were standing there on the corner of, I think it's Cathedral Street, just up from here by the CBC here, and you were taking a picture of the courthouse, or that area there. Mm. And that was the other picture, and I think you found the 2 gentlemen on the sled, that was up on Military Road, wasn't that right? Yeah,
I showed him the one on Military Road. That was the one with the horse, the sleigh, and the 2 people in it. That was just a total lucky find. I mean, if it hadn't been for the Newfoundlander up at the Visitor Center there, I would have never found that. I would have no idea where to look. But once you get there and get real close to the location it was taken, the land starts looking right. The roads turn right. See, after the fire, they didn't relocate the roads, or at least most of them they didn't. And they didn't relocate that one, so it all looked right then. And there was even a fancy light post there, and it had been replaced, but it was still a fancy light post there. And so I felt really good about that. It's a nice feeling to find that exact spot where somebody stood over 100 years ago and took a picture, and you're going to take one just like it, or as close as you can to it. It's a wonderful feeling to do that. It's like finding a treasure. You know, I equate this to treasure hunting. I mean, I don't make any big money like if you found a bunch of gold or something, but it's just a feeling of finding that is really nice. There's another one I took of over on it was a Queens Battery Road, and I had that picture with me 2 years ago when I was up, and I tried to find it, and there had been a lot of reconstruction over there, and I had come to the conclusion that that picture that area had been destroyed, and I wouldn't be able to get that picture. But I gave it one last try this time, and I actually found the location. It's still there. It had a picture of a guy sitting on a wooden fence made out of wooden rails, and there was a few people walking up a wooden pathway. It's still there. The pathway's been widened, and the rocks along the non-water side had been moved and changed. But I got the same contour, and I can see a rock jetty that goes out into the harbor that matches it. I was able to get to the same location. The wooden fence has been replaced with posts that were made out of what I believe was the Newfie Railroad, and has steel cables there instead of tree branches or whatever. I was quite pleased in finding that one. There was another one over in the Battery area, and that had been worked on, and a lot of rocks blown away. And of course, it's been built up a lot too. At the time, the old picture I had, it was the old fishermen's quarters, is all it said on it. Old fishermen's quarters at St. John's. I tried to locate that one 2 years ago and concluded that the point that it was taken from had been blown off, but I was wrong. I found it this time. A little persistence and going down paths and stairs and stuff over there, and I was actually able to find the same location. So I felt good about that. It's like another treasure found.
I'm sure the Provincial Tourism Department would love to talk to you more, but just one last question before I let you go, and that's, you said to me on Sunday, you said, I think I've taken more stereo photographs of Newfoundland than any other person in the world. And what do you say that, and how does that make you feel?
When I started looking for stereo photos of Newfoundland, I found them very hard to find. I mean, I've located maybe a dozen or so, and when I came up 2 years ago, I took over 600 stereo pairs. I only put 40 of them in the book because it just gets thicker and thicker. I don't know of anyone that's done that. I actually think I've taken more stereo pairs of Newfoundland than everyone in the past put together. And I would love to have somebody prove me wrong, because I would then have a lot of stereo pictures to duplicate again. That's why I think that, and it makes me feel like I've done something nobody else has done, which is always a good feeling. Maybe, who knows, maybe someday somebody will be taking my stereo views and saying, can I find that? And I've made it easy for them. All the stereo views I made of Newfoundland, I put not only the date and time that I took the picture, but I've been using the GPS, and I put the latitude and longitude on there. So if somebody wants to see the actual scene that I have on one of my views, get a GPS and go out there. It'll lead you to it.
Chuck Holzner is from Lacey Spring, Virginia. If you Google his name, you can find some of his photos online. He's working on a then and now book of stereo photographs of Newfoundland. And he also has a book already of 40 stereo photographs of Newfoundland taken a few years ago. And that's Bycatch for today. I'm Dave Bartlett in St. John's.